European Union is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy. $750 billion worth of energy. They are going to agree to invest into the United States $600 billion more than they're investing already. So they're investing a large amount of money. You know what that amount of money is. It's very substantial, but they're going to invest an additional $600 billion. They're agreeing to open up their countries to trade at zero tariff. So that's a very big factor. Opening up their countries, all of the countries will be opened up to trade with the United States at zero tariff. And they're agreeing to purchase a vast amount of military equipment. We don't know what that number is.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. So today we're digging into something pretty major that just happened this past Sunday, July 27th, out of Turnberry, Scotland.
Yeah, a really significant announcement. We're talking President Trump and European Commission President von der Leyen.
Exactly. They've announced what they're calling a huge, tremendous deal. It impacts the U.S. and the EU, the world's two largest economies. So our mission for you today is to really unpack this.
Right, unpack the specifics, because there's a big trade agreement component, but also something pretty significant on the NATO front, too.
Let's start with the trade deal itself. The money involved here is just staggering.
It really is. First off, the EU has agreed to buy $750 billion worth of energy from the United States.
$750 billion, just on energy.
Just energy. And then on top of that, they've also committed to investing an additional $600 billion inside the U.S.
Wow. Okay, so massive capital flows agreed upon there. What does that signal strategically?
Well, it certainly suggests a tighter energy relationship, maybe reducing the EU's reliance on other sources. It does raise questions, though, about how this aligns with Europe's own green energy goals. It's a lot of fossil fuel purchasing, presumably.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, beyond the big spending numbers, let's get into the tariffs.
Yeah.
Because that's where things get really interesting, I think.
Agreed. The structure here is key.
So the EU side, they're opening up their markets. 0% tariffs on U.S. goods coming in.
Right. Open access for American products. But going the other way, it's different.
Yeah, very different. The U.S. and EU have agreed on the 15% tariff on all EU exports going into the U.S.
And that includes things like automobiles, right?
It explicitly includes automobiles, which is, a huge deal for European car makers.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember these tariffs, they're basically taxes on imported goods. So this makes EU products more expensive in the U.S. market.
And then critically, that existing 50% tariff on steel imports from the EU, that one stays.
Still in place. So 0% one way, 15% the other, and 50% still on steel. It's a complex picture.
And these new 15% tariffs, they're kicking in really soon. August 1st, 2025.
Which, wasn't that the deadline President Trump had set? He'd threatened 30% tariffs if no deal was reached by then, I believe.
That's right, he did. So 15% is less than the threat, but still a significant new barrier.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. The scale we're talking about here. U.S. GDP projected around $30.5 trillion for 2025. EU GDP, roughly $28 trillion.
Massive economies. And the trade between them is already huge. What, about $1.7 trillion currently?
Yeah, around that figure. And the expectation stated in the announcement is that this deal will push that volume up significantly.
So what does significantly mean in practice for people, for businesses?
Well, think about it. For European consumers, 0% tariffs on U.S. goods could mean cheaper prices, maybe more choice.
Okay, potential benefit there.
But for European exporters trying to sell into the U.S., especially those high-value goods like German cars or French luxury items, that 15% tariff could really hurt their competitiveness. It might shift market share, maybe even influence where things get made down the line.
Right. It's not just numbers. It's about real economic shifts. But okay, this wasn't just a trade summit. There was a huge security announcement tied in.
Yes, the NATO defense spending commitment. This is quite frankly, a bombshell.
It really is. NATO members have now agreed to increase their defense and security spending to 5% of their GDP. 5%.
That's up from the previous guideline of 2%, a guideline many countries were, let's be honest, struggling to meet consistently.
So doubling, more than doubling the target. What are the implications of that? I mean, where does that money come from in national budgets?
That's the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it? It implies a fundamental shift in national priorities, a much more robustly funded NATO, potentially more assertive,
Could mean cuts elsewhere. Social programs, other investments.
potentially, or significant budget increases overall. It signals that security is being reprioritized in a major way across the alliance. It's a huge strategic recalibration.
And how did the leaders frame all this, von der Leyen and Trump?
Well, both presented it very positively, as you'd expect. President von der Leyen called the overall deal huge and tremendous, saying it brings stability and clarity.
Stability and clarity. Okay.
And President Trump focused on the economic upside, saying everyone will make a lot of profit and that the deal fosters unity and friendship.
Unity and friendship through trade deals and increased defense spending. Interesting framing.
Indeed. Two quite different angles on the same set of agreements.
So wrapping this up for you, our listener,
Yeah.
we've just walked through some massive changes. A new US-EU trade framework with specific tariff structures and huge financial commitments.
And alongside that, a potentially transformative increase in NATO defense spending commitments.
All right, so the big question we leave you with is this. Considering these major shifts, what does this deep dive suggest about where global alliances and economic power might be heading in the next few years?
What could the ripple effects be? How might other nations react or adjust their own strategies in response to such a comprehensive US-EU agreement?
Something to think about. That's all for this deep dive.